It's weird seeing you about blue hair, I'll be honest.
Well,
Sure, everyone said that.
oh, I'm glad the blue hair's gone.
Guys, thank you so much for your time today. I don't know if this was a mistake, but I watched this film very late last night, so it was a fun sort of Sunday night family family film
Oh,
to
God.
finish the day on. I
Yeah,
mean,
you made a mistake.
yeah, it wasn't. It was a strange one, but a very, very, very good one. So congratulations on the film. I just wondered what you'd made of the reaction so far. I know you guys kind of debuted it at LFF last year, and you've had a few kind of festivals and stuff. Maybe Nichola, we'll start with you. What have you made to the reaction, and how happy are you with that people are embracing it, despite the fact that it's quite a heavy subject matter?
It's very, very heavy. People are very uncomfortable watching it, which is exciting to see. And so in a lot of screenings we've had, I've never seen people sit so still, and so you see so much tension a lot of the way through, which sounds odd, but they're really kind of going through that process with the characters. And I think the frame that it's shot on as well, so it's quite close, it's quite small, everyone feels like they're right there with them. Everyone comes out of the screenings and talks about so much: friendship, perceptions, understanding, relationships, death, life. There is so much that you kind of don't come out and have one conversation repeatedly. Everyone wants to share their perspective, which is often so vast. It's really good.
Yeah, how was it for you, Roxanne? Because this is like quite new to you, isn't it? So I wonder how that experience was for you.
Yeah, so it's new to me, but it's same as Nichola said, like it's exciting. I don't have the experience of other screenings and seeing what people are like watching other things, but it's very good to watch people how they're fully focused on it. Normally you'd be sitting there having conversations, whatever, but even after it, like maybe 3-4 weeks ago, my mum was still asking me, she's like, so who done it? Like, I need to know more. Like, can you not ask Faisal for more? I was like, Mum, I've got the script. Like, there is no more. That's where it ends. But even now, my mum is still trying to get more information. So like, so what happens next? And I'm like, nothing. Like, it is what it is. Like, it's down to you now to figure out in your brain. But there has been a lot of conversations regarding, as Nichola said, friendships, death, like what actually happened in the film and how it does resonate with so many different, I don't know, perspectives of different people's lives.
Yeah, and I mean it deals with this tragedy, but it's one of those films that it manages to find kind of the human drama, and it doesn't really shy away from the issues and what it's about. It doesn't try and sugarcoat any of that. I mean, was that for both of you? Maybe I'll start with Roxanne with this one. When you read the script for the first time, did it make you kind of embrace it more? The fact that it didn't shy away from what it was talking about, that it told the story it wanted to tell and told it, you know, warts and all.
The first time I read the script was actually after filming it completed and after I've actually seen the film. That's when I actually got the full script. I was the only person filming that didn't have the script, so there was a great big secrecy. Sometimes I would try and pry people like Nichola and Samson and these other, like the other cast people. I'd be like, oh, so, and then after this happens, so like, do you know what's coming after lunch and stuff like that? But they weren't giving me nothing. Sometimes they'd slip, but then they'd be in trouble if someone heard them. So yeah, I never actually got to see the script. For me, it was just, I'm going to this thing. I knew the big details of certain things were going to be happening because I had to sort of agree and say, yeah, I'm up for it. But it was just, for me, it's like every day, I didn't know what I was going into unless I had a big, like I had the speeches. So if I had like a lot of lines to learn, I'd sort of get them a couple of days before or the night before. But after that, before each set, I would be given a briefer of what's going on, a small set of lines, and then it was just go in. I was sort of like blindsided, so it was amazing.
I guess you're well prepped if you ever get to be in a Marvel movie or something like that in terms of secrecy. You're pretty well trained now with not spoiling any secrets. I mean, Nichola, how was that experience for you, given that you knew what was going on, but Roxanne was kind of kept in the dark and you kind of had to play? Was that a strange but I guess rewarding experience because it was a little bit different and it kept Roxanne on her toes a little bit?
Yeah, exactly. So I understood what Faisal was wanting to get out of it. Because obviously this is Roxanne's first film, I don't think he wanted her to overcomplicate anything or to worry about it or to start to plan any of it. So that there had to be this element of surprise, and to keep a consistent element of truth, which I think Roxanne honestly would have done anyway. But obviously, we understood Faisal's process. My first film was very similar with Dominic's second show. I also understood what you get out of it in your first film, when this whole new world is, you know, you're seeing it through completely fresh eyes, and there's so much wonder and curiosity that the only thing you should really be curious about is what you're doing in that moment, not particularly everything else around you. So I really understood it. I felt a bit deceitful at times if Roxanne tried to get information, and I obviously wanted to tell her but couldn't. But we'd managed to get around it, and it was okay.
Yeah, well, you do. I mean, the relationship between the two of you is fantastic on screen. I mean, there's a real friendship there, but it is like a lot of friendships where sometimes they don't go to plan. You know, that you don't stay friends forever. You know, it's just the way of the world. But the relationship is so kind of has a great delicacy to it. I just wondered whether a lot of that was on the page for you, Nichola, or whether it came from the fact that this different energy, because Roxanne didn't know about the script, that made the relationship even richer.
I think it was combined. So the first time I met Roxanne, I think it was a combination of the two, definitely. So reading Lynn and Lucy, I understood all of the complexities of their relationship and the neediness, the tensions, sometimes almost being too close and dependent on each other. The smallest thing pushes the stakes really high, when in hindsight, if it was a bit more of a healthy relationship and slightly more fulfilling all round, or both of them, let's say both of them felt more fulfilled individually, they might not feel so dependent on each other so drastically. It almost felt like, when I read it, like they were in a relationship. Like before their husbands, before the children, before anything else, it was Lynn and Lucy. And it always had been. And that spoke volumes, and I really understood it. Then when I met Roxanne, we got along instantly. We'd had really similar experiences in some of the things we'd seen, or the areas we grew up in. I understood what Roxanne's going into this film the first time. I'd done exactly the same thing 18 years ago. So I knew where she was at, and we got along really, really well. It's really easy to get along with Roxanne. So there was no pretense. There was no having to find it. Roxanne's really open and transparent. And so what you see is what you get, and she lays everything bare, and I really respected that, and hopefully give her the same back. So I think it was a combination of what Faisal writ, casting us two, knowing we've had similar experiences, and that now Roxanne's going through what I went through with the first film. I think it all played perfectly. That sounds a bit but I think it did.
Roxanne, would you echo those sentiments?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I've had similar friendships in real life to Lynn and Lucy, and so I know the whole being friends for like 15 years, and then things go a bit sour. One person sort of like gets a bit more clued up of what the other one's really about. But other than that, Nicola's, what she said is 100%. Like when we first met, it was so easy. Like when I'd been in castings with other people just to see how we clicked, it was sort of been like they would talk, and then maybe I would say something, then they would talk and I would say something. But with Nichola, it was like the minute she started speaking, I was like, oh my God, yeah. And then I did this. And then rather than us both talking to Faisal, we were sort of having conversations with Faisal sitting over there watching us. Yeah. And so it was really, really easy to get along with Nichola. Like she is also like really open, and talking to her was just so easy. I was aware of Nichola before I'd even met her through watching her films, like Street Dance 3D and stuff.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that. No,
I didn't know that I was meeting you that day, but when I see you, I knew who you was.
So that's so funny, because we never spoke about me acting before, other than my first film is similar to this. Like that wasn't something we really talked about, acting.
So, oh no, like, so I fully knew who you was when I see your face. It's like when I first met Kacey, it was like, hi, you're right, we was introduced, like it was completely normal. The minute she left the room, I'm like, oh, she really looks like her, doesn't she? And everyone just laughed at me, like, of course she looks like her, it's her. But with Nichola, it was a case of, it never come into my mind, like that whole fan thing, like, oh my God, like, I can't believe I just met that person. It was more like, oh my God, Nichola is amazing. Like, I didn't look at you no more as the actor I'd seen on screen before. Like, you were this amazing human that whether or not you want to be, you're now going to be my friend for at least the next God knows how many weeks.
Oh, bless you.
And I was really glad to just have that somebody to fall back on, knowing that she'd been through what I was going through. She gave me so much like advice and information, and just being around her made me feel calmer in the fact that I wasn't around everybody who would sort of like, she's never done this before, she might not know what she's doing, like maybe if you did it this way it'd be better. She was very much just so like loving, and just even if I had any questions, she'd be there to sort of help me or give me advice. I couldn't imagine doing it with anyone other than Nichola. Like, the friendship, even when it started to go a bit sour on screen, I was like, oh, my friend.
Oh, bless you. I remember you asking as well sometimes, like, is this before or after? I remember Roxanne really trying to work it all out. And sometimes I think that felt, I remember when we watched it and you said, when did that happen? Oh my gosh, look what's, I remember you really seeing the film for the first time. Really seeing it for the first time and really understanding it for the first time. But you did it, I mean, honestly, I'm not just saying this, I think you'd have still kept the element of surprise as you know. But I think obviously with what Faisal did, it was exactly the same. Faisal and Dominic Savage did exactly the same thing for me as with you. And I do think for your first film, it had something entirely new, because it's such a there are so many people from so many different walks of life watching you. It's intense. There's a lot going on. So I think to keep that absolute truth in that moment was amazing. But I have no doubt that whatever film or TV program you go into the future, you will naturally just keep those elements going.
Thank you.
Because I think you can get that now from speaking to Roxanne, can't you? You can see that's
sure, for sure, absolutely, 100%.
Oh, thank
100%.
you.
Yeah.
Just as a final question, and I mean, obviously, I know you guys were probably looking forward to, a cinema release and doing some Q&As and talking to people at the screenings about the movies. And obviously, you're doing this now, and it's not it's going to be online. But in some ways, it feels kind of good, I guess, for the movie, in that because it is something that demands a debate afterwards. That people will be watching this together at home. How happy that there is kind of a silver lining with it, in the sense that people will be watching it at home, and there might be even more people watching it, and even more discussions about what it's about. You must be happy that it's gonna, there's gonna be quite a big audience for it that are gonna sit at home and watch it and really digest what the story's about.
Yeah, I've really desperately wanted from the beginning of lockdown people to see it, because I thought exactly like you say, people are forced at home now. They can't really go out and speak about it. And when you walk out of a cinema screen, you can quite easily dust off that experience. So and most films, they leave us feeling nice, they leave us feeling comfortable, a bit elate. I mean, we only have to think of A Star Is Born is a really tragic film, but you can come out and you can take some warmth and some beauty from it. I don't feel that you get a huge amount of that from Lynn and Lucy, and I felt like it's the type of film, exactly like you say, it should cause debate, it should cause question, it should definitely cause conversation. And there's something about almost being restricted, like they are, that forces you to do even more. And from the beginning of lockdown, I'm sure Camilla, the producer, will tell everybody, I've been messaging like, people need to see this now. Had no idea that it was obviously going to the BFI, but I was saying this is the perfect time. People at home, they will watch it. It's gonna be far greater in that experience, I believe personally, than necessarily going to a cinema. I feel like this is, I'm really happy that it will get a cinema release eventually, but this is a really exciting way to watch this film. It's not supposed to be comfortable, and I can imagine people sitting there ready to watch a film, getting on the sofa, having a beer, and being really disturbed. And I sort of think, haha. So they need to be taken on that journey, and it almost brings it into their house, doesn't it? That small space. And when you're at home, you're more likely to think about your neighbours, the people who live over the road from you, things that have happened in your area, family, friends, all of that. So it's quite a bit more exciting for me.
Yeah, is that the same for you, Roxanne? That it does have a bit more of have a different excitement to it?
Yeah, and it ain't that, it kind of forces people to watch it as well, because when you go to a cinema, some people, they don't necessarily go to watch something in particular. They go just to see what's on for a night out or something. Then after that, they're going for dinner, like they're going for cheeky Nando's or something. And then the conversation's changing on to peri peri before you even realise it. But as Nick said, like this, like you are forced to see it. Not forced, but you can't really escape it. You can't then, once it's done, you can't change the conversation onto a bit of peri peri. It's, you need to talk about it. And then, as I said before to someone else, my mum was asking me like a few weeks ago, what happens next? She watched it the first and only time at London Film Festival. And so all this time later, it is still playing on her mind. Like, so what happened? Who did it? Like, what was behind this? And I'm like, it is what it is, isn't it? Like, you take the information and do with it as you will, but it definitely makes people think. And I think there's no better place to think than at home, where you can't really conversate with more than the people you're there with.
Yeah, for sure. Well, guys, listen, thank you so much for your time today. Good luck with the movie. I loved it. So yeah, fingers crossed you get a fantastic response when it comes out.
Watching it, did you manage to sleep well if you watched it?
Yeah, yeah, I slept okay. Yeah, I watched a bit of Scrubs like before I went to bed, so I kind of leveled it out. So
I feel like when I've watched it, it was quite uncomfortable watching it in the cinema, because you've kind of got to look at other people straight away, and I didn't feel in the mood for that. I don't know if you did that, Roxanne? Like when you watch it, and I wanted to watch their reactions because I knew at that point what was happening.
Yeah.
But then when it came to everyone talking about it, I felt that they were looking for some sort of reassurance from me. Did you feel a bit like that? They wanted, like you said, your mom, some truth, something.
They wanted answers. Like they wanted to know how, why, when, and you can't always give that. But no, I loved it.
Yeah. So I think that's when you go to the cinemas, it's just an entirely different experience. I'm really excited for people to sit at home and sit with it and not be allowed to go much further than, you should have to watch something to feel good after. You should have to listen to music, because I feel like if you'd have said then, I went to bed and I slept amazingly just after watching Lynn and Lucy, I would have thought, did we really do what we were supposed to do? But the fact that I watched something else after to,
yeah, I had to kind of, I'm still thinking about it today, obviously, but I had to kind of, there was no one to really talk about. Everyone was in bed, so I had to just kind of like, I need to just put something positive on just for now, and then talk to you guys and then dissect it even more. So
a true story as well.
I didn't know that. No.
I think it's even worse.
Yeah, wowzers.
Based on, not entirely, but it was, elements were based on a true story.
Wowzers.
Yeah.
Make you feel a bit tough now, wouldn't
it? Yeah. Oh, guys, absolute pleasure talking to you. Good luck with the movie. Thank you so much for your time. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys.
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey You Guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yes.
Nice.
Hey You